What about Christmas Eve? When you were going up there, did you guys have a snack before you went to bed that night?
I forget.
What was JonBenet's favorite snack?
I don't think she had a snack.
I didn't put the bowl there, okay? I did not put the bowl there. I would not do this.
The coroner had discovered that there was undigested pineapple in JonBenet's stomach. Well, the police didn't even know there was pineapple. They went back and they started to look at all the photographs. When did JonBenet eat the pineapple?
Just whatever Mom had laid out. Because she always had laid out a snack for after school.
I did not put the bowl there. I would not do this. That like
Okay,
this.
those principal owned one of the two you.
They did.
You just eat
And what would a typical snack be?
pudding or just like leftover pizza.
But very well could have. Like, would you remember eating pineapple 20 years ago?
What else would she do fruit-wise?
That's all I know. Pineapple.
Pineapple.
Yeah.
You mentioned that once before. Is that kind of a favorite
Yeah.
for the family?
It's really favorite thing.
Is that probably the most favorite?
Apples or pineapple, probably the same.
I didn't put the bowl there, okay? I did not put the bowl there.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, we've heard from Burke, we've heard from Patsy. What about John? Who does John say gave JonBenet the pineapple? You're not going to believe this. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. By the way, I'm going to be doing later tonight. It's Monday, and you know what that means? Crime news update. So look out for that. If you're finding this analysis worthwhile, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. I think it's important to put into context just how important the pineapple is. Even Lou Smith, the arch apologist for the Ramseys, accepted that the fruit in JonBenet's stomach was pineapple. Lou Smith: we don't know, the pineapple is inside her, so we have to figure out how that pineapple got there. There's one way it could get there, she had to eat it at some point. John Ramsey: are you sure it was pineapple? Lou Smith: yes. That's pretty unambiguous. John Ramsey: no question. Lou Smith: no question, no question. So that's always been the big bugaboo. It's interesting the lengths the apologists went to try to skirt around the uncomfortable questions that arise out of Pineapplegate, particularly the one conjuring an ambulant JonBenet wandering around that big house late at night, not tucked safely in bed and perhaps not even put to bed to begin with, given this scenario. So naturally it would make sense to discredit the pineapple. One way to do that was to say that she simply got it somewhere else. So let's go to this interview from Katie Couric. It's sourced by a Candy Rose. Check this out. For every clue, a new question, like the autopsy finding that JonBenet ate pineapple just hours before she died. None was served at dinner that night. So when did JonBenet eat it? Let's address the mystery of the pineapple. That's been a source of a lot of speculation about what she did when you all got home from that Christmas party. Did she really go straight to bed? Did she eat pineapple? John Ramsey answers, Couric interrupts him. Before she went to bed? Mr. Ramsey: let's deal with the facts that I know. The facts are that JonBenet was asleep when we brought her home. We put her to bed, and neither Patsy or I fed her anything because she was asleep. Those are the facts. So there he is doubling down. Now, unfortunately, if you wanted to take that path, there were all sorts of people who were at the same dinner that JonBenet was who could say otherwise. In other words, you can't really say that she got the pineapple there because nobody else did. Now, it's interesting how adamant John starts off here, basically saying that there's no way JonBenet could have eaten pineapple in their home because she was asleep. But Patsy confirmed that JonBenet couldn't have eaten pineapple at the White's dinner party. Again, let's go to Steve Thomas's book, JonBenet Inside the Ramsey Investigation, page 165, again cited by a Candy Rose. She confirmed that the last thing JonBenet had to eat was some cracked crab at the White's dinner party on December 25. I knew the Whites served no pineapple that night, but pineapple was found in the victim's stomach, and a bowl of pineapple bearing Patsy's fingerprints was on her kitchen table. Now, another tactic was to say the pineapple in her stomach wasn't pineapple, and perhaps it was some other fruit. In fact, Burke was asked what his and JonBenet's favorite foods were. Well, what do you think they were? You actually hear him reluctantly acknowledging that it was pineapple. Now let's go to Steve Thomas's book, page 137. We tried to get information about bedtime snacks and managed to learn that the girl loved grapes, sliced apples, and fruit of all kinds, but especially pineapple. Give her a whole can and she'd eat it. We knew she ate pineapple the night she died, and now her grandmother told us how much the child loved it. While she was talking, I weighed some alternatives, that she was given a bedtime snack from the bowl that had Patsy's fingerprints. Well, that made more sense to me than the possibility of an intruder feeding the child pineapple. Now, according to Detective Steve Thomas, the pineapple in JonBenet's stomach included a rind, which means it was fresh cut pineapple, not pineapple out of a tin. And in fairly recently released images of JonBenet, we see a pineapple seated alongside a bowl of fruit right there out in the open on the kitchen table in the Ramsey home. But Lou Smith wanted to argue, initially anyway, that there could be another source for the pineapple. And this is where you can tell how desperate Lou was to avoid sticky areas that might implicate the Ramseys, even if they didn't make much sense. We also see here how heavily he relied on photos rather than the artifacts and evidence, and even to some extent the logic of the actual crime scene as observed by people who were actually there. Let's go back to Steve Thomas's book. This is an excerpt taken from candyrose.com, but it's from page 192. Our experts studied the pineapple in the stomach and reported that it was fresh-cut pineapple, consistent down to the rind with what had been found in the bowl. It was solid proof that it wasn't canned pineapple. And what were the chances that an intruder would have brought in a fresh pineapple to cut up for his victim? And then it gets even shakier, even more absurd. At lunch, we had our sandwiches at that table while trying to convince Detective Lou Smith of the connection between the mother's fingerprints on the bowl and the pineapple remains found in the child's body. He counted that a crime scene photo showed a Tupperware container in a paper sack in JonBenet's bedroom, and he believed the contents of that plastic bowl might have been pineapple. Maybe she got up during the night and ate pineapple in her room, Lou Smith said, giving us an unlikely alternative. Do you agree that that is quite unlikely? The Tupperware container never seized was long gone, and the grainy photo on which Lou Smith relied was totally inconclusive. I thought the material could have been popcorn, maybe beads, certainly not unrefrigerated pineapple. Perhaps, Smith argued, if she knew the intruder, he might have fed her. Maybe Santa, he ventured. And you see just how crazy this is getting. And I think, again, this puts into perspective just how dubious Lou Smith's slam dunk of the no footprints in the snow theory was, based on him not seeing any snow in crime scene photos. And bear in mind, they were shot well after sunrise at between 8 and 10 in the morning. And in a continental climate like Boulder, it heats up pretty quickly. Several hours, and these photos were taken several hours after the first responders arrived. But Smith seemed to think the intruder fed JonBenet the pineapple. Now let's go to page 305 of Steve Thomas's book. And bear in mind, this is the defense case. This is part of the whole intruder theory. An intruder would have been incredibly bold to do it this way as the rest of the family prepared for bed. We knew pineapple was not served at the White's party, which ruled out the second option. That would indicate that JonBenet ate it between the time she returned home at about 10 p.m. and the time she died. But if that were the case, then she wasn't carried straight to bed, asleep, as her parents claimed. She ate the pineapple, it was digested, and then she was killed. This was the only way the evidence made sense. But let's get back to John. When John is asked his opinion, he starts off saying he doesn't recognize the bowl or the spoon. This is Steve Thomas's book, page 322. Returning to more serious subjects, Ramsey stumbled when Lou Smith questioned him about the pineapple. He insisted that he didn't remember JonBenet eating it at the White's Christmas party and knew she didn't eat it at home before going to sleep. In retrospect, he thought it strange that Priscilla White fixed her a plate of cracked crab. He would guarantee JonBenet did not eat the pineapple at home, so it had to be before they went to the Whites or while they were there. I don't buy that an intruder fed her pineapple, he declared, adding that he recognized, this is so interesting, he said he recognized neither the bowl containing the fruit nor the spoon that were on the table. So saying, someone brought that there. Now, I've got to say, I do recognize it. You can see the bowl with its smaller round pedestal in this photo, bottom left, taken on December 23rd. Let's zoom in a little. Not only is it the same bowl, it's on the same glass table as the bowl is found on the day after Christmas. And then something incredible happens. A day after saying he doesn't recognize the bowl, John suggests JonBenet knew the intruder, something that Lou Smith would parrot later on, and that the intruder was Santa, and that Santa gave JonBenet the pineapple. This is another excerpt. The very next day, John retracted that firm statement, that firm doubling down, saying that his lawyer chastised him for making it. Neither he nor Patsy fed a pineapple, he said, but then he asked, what if she knew the intruder? After thinking about it, he said, it hit me like a ton of bricks. JonBenet adored Santa Bill McReynolds, and if he had come into her room, she would have gotten out of bed and gone downstairs with him without a problem. So now you can see the suspects have gone from the housekeeper to Jeff Merrick to Santa. She may have had a secretly prepared meeting, he said. Maybe he fed her pineapple. The detective stopped the tape and watched that section repeatedly. Only the day before, Ramsey had said such a thing was impossible. Now he laid it on Santa Bill. Improbable, but fair enough. But jump to earlier this year when John was asked about Gary Oliva. Would JonBenet have gone down to the kitchen and eaten pineapple with him? Obviously not, so why not say that? Or is the idea that any suspect is credible as long as it's not one of the Ramseys? For now, I'm not going to take it further than that, but what I think this illustrates is that no matter how strong or compelling the evidence, if there's fingerprints, people will say, where's the DNA? If there are photos, people will say something that someone else's handwriting is a match. If there's autopsy evidence, people will say it's a matter of interpretation. If there's inconsistent statements, people will say, who knows how you would behave under these circumstances? If the grand jury voted to indict, people will make excuses about that. If the ransom note doesn't quite match Patsy's handwriting, people will say the evidence is simply not strong enough. You can argue with some of the evidence, but as that fishing net of evidence gets heavier and heavier, it's hard to argue against that burden, that it doesn't add up to something. Unless, of course, you suffer from a short attention span. Well, then anything and everything becomes possible. Possible, but not probable. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.